Hello and most welcome to 1821 of the series, Heidegger 1821. I would today continue the lecture of 1814, Wittgenstein on Thinking as a Process or an Activity by Francis Lin. Last time we talked about thinking as a process. Is it an activity? Does it have duration? Earlier we also looked into whether thinking is an inner speech or is it necessary that this inner speech accompany the doings to be thinking. And so far we have come to the conclusion, with the help of Ludwig Wittgenstein and Francis Lin, that thinking can accompany, but it's not the cause, it's not the origin, it is not even necessary. Once more, I think it would be apt to say that thinking has sort of family resemblance, not an essential likeness to these other things. It does not in itself have an inner meaning that gives it sameness to some degree. Thinking as images is of course another tempting solution. To see thinking as pictures evolving in the mind. Hej hej. Åh, hallå hallå. Det var länge sedan. That they are progressively turning up inside the mind. But also here we come to the realization by a very interesting analogy by Wittgenstein that shows that they can accompany, but not necessarily so. So they do not originate the act. They are not taking an active part in the act, but they can accompany. Now I will continue the read on page 17. There are various cases in which we speak of thinking. For instance, when one is talking, speaking silently, or working, etc. Under certain circumstances. A wide range of activities under certain circumstances are thinking. These are all phenomena of thinking. And they are widely scattered. Once we see these, the temptation to say that one aspect appears in all of these word uses will be removed, for we shall not find any common feature. For instance, a common activity or a process. Which is involved in the phenomena of thinking. Although thinking can under certain circumstances be talking, writing, or working, etc. Thinking is not any of these. This is expressed in another remark by Wittgenstein. Thinking cannot be called a phenomenon, but one can speak of phenomena of thinking. And everyone will know what kinds of phenomena are meant. As said above, there are a wide range of phenomena of thinking. For instance, a lawyer speaking in a court in defense of his client. A student writing in an important exam. Etc. Everyone knows these phenomena. And everyone can provide a long list of such examples. But thinking cannot be called a phenomenon. Which means that there isn't an activity or a process that can be identified with thinking. We have been examining the philosophical significance of Hanfling's statement that some activities under certain circumstances are thinking. we have seen that the statement is indeed significant. For it can help us to see that thinking is a widely ramified concept, and also that thinking is not some activity or process which occurs in all cases of thinking. Interestingly, although the title of handling is thinking, a widely ramified concept, he fails to connect his statement that some activities are thinking with the idea that thinking is a widely ramified concept. Neither does Schroeder see this connection. This is why Hanfling's statement is dismissed by Schroeder for being philosophically unhelpful and useless. Schroeder quotes remarks on the philosophy of psychology 80:31. He does not explain what phenomenon and phenomena mean in that remark, nor does he explain what the remark means. But he says that an activity is a phenomenon, and hence that the remark entails this. Thinking is not an activity, but there are activities of thinking, and everyone will know what kinds of activities are meant. His inference seems to be sound, but he fails to explain what activities of thinking which everyone knows, actually are. He does explain why thinking is not an activity, but his explanation is based on some differences between thinking and typical activities. His account therefore faces the same problems as Hacker's does. More importantly, it differs markedly from Wittgenstein's account. Wittgenstein derives the proposition that thinking is not a phenomenon, like activity or process, from the grammatical fact that thinking is a widely ramified concept. He wouldn't want to argue controversially, as Schroeder and Hacker does, that thinking is not an activity because there are some differences between thinking and typical activities. To sum up, thinking is a widely ramified concept. Various activities under certain circumstances are thinking, but thinking is not any of these activities. Yet it is impossible to detach thinking from the activities, such as talking, writing, and working. One cannot just think without at the same time performing some of these activities. Now we have a very So thinking cannot be compared to bodily activities such as running, but should be better compared to the speed and manner, etc. of them. Just as the speed and manner cannot be detached from the activities, thinking cannot be separated from the activities of thinking. So see it this way with a very short summary. In the actual act of thinking, it can feel that thinking is separable, something that is not absolutely necessary, but too often it accompanies, and it would be an uncalled question, and it would trick us to say what is thinking, what is the essence of thinking, since thinking is everywhere and in everything. I'd say pretty much the same is done with things like me, I as a person. What is the essence of me? See how all these can strand up to the similar problems. You start looking for the essence, and you will have lost both the activity where thinking is partaking and thinking itself, because everything is deeply interrelated. I would say entrenched, enfolded in each other. So sharp divisions will lead to a demise of understanding, will make it more condensed, narrow, obscure understanding instead of opening it up. And making it less accessible, oddly enough. By this procedure, thinking cannot be thinking anymore. And let me remind you, it's so easy to get rid of it. Doesn't take any effort. The understanding is provided by Wittgenstein, and that is about all you have to do. Thank you very much. Have a very pleasant morning, day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are.